and welcome back to the Small Business Show on 2RRR 88.5. Now, in the studio right now, we also have Robyn-Hawke, who's the owner of Inspired Spaces. So, welcome to the studio, Robyn.
Thanks, Hazel, for having me.
You're welcome. And you're also the second in charge of Designer Chicks.
The unofficial second in charge.
So now, I was reading you started Inspired Spaces in 2005 and you have residential and commercial clients. Now, I've just noticed that it says you have the talent and experience to reinvigorate anything from the home right through to cafes and restaurants and any other kind of business space. Well, that's amazing. So what kind of experience do you bring to the table for those sort of things? I mean, that's a very big thing between home and cafes, for example.
There is a difference, but you're still making the space suitable for the person using it. So design is about creating a space that is both aesthetically beautiful but functional. Mm-hmm. And to do that, you've got to listen to your client. If you don't listen to the client, you won't be successful. So they're still the same, even though a cafe or a commercial one's different, you've still got to have a very strong brief. You've got to still get the message across. Mm-hmm. Now, for instance, with a commercial client, it's about brand image. So I talk to them about your brand image doesn't end with your website or your letterhead or your business card. Your brand image, at the very least, is your reception area and your boardroom.
Yes.
And that just includes. Now, with your residential clients, the difference is that I listen to what they want. I don't have a style. I believe that everyone's design or space must reflect their experiences in life, their values, and what they want to portray to a visitor. Yep. So it's listening very carefully to what they want, what style, and suggesting what works.
Mm-hmm. No, true. I mean, I think everybody has their own way or vision of what they want in their own home. Tell me, what is the difference between an interior designer and an interior decorator? Because there is a bit of a difference, isn't there?
Yes, it's one of those ones that, everyone gets confused. Even the designer and the decorator gets confused because we overlap so much. Mm-hmm. Probably the interior designer has the ability to look at a space and I can knock down walls, tell you to put in walls, move the kitchen from one area to another, move the bathroom somewhere else, put a door in, put a window in. But having said that, decorators also sometimes do that, but I am fully qualified, 3 years of training to be able to do that. But at the same time, I still will use an engineer or a builder or even an architect, if that's the case can be, if I'm not sure. Under no circumstances would we knock a wall out without being checked beforehand.
Okay, all right. Now, a lot of our people that are listening are obviously own their own home, but they also obviously have a small office or, maybe a big office. Mm. But why is office interior design so important? I mean, you mentioned branding, but is there any other aspects of it that people need to think about when they're designing?
Oh, productivity. If your space is, people want to go, it looks good, feels good, they'll work. Ergonomics, if it's set out properly. Now, there's no use I've done a concept for one place where they had the sales manager at the front of the office and had the sales team at the opposite end. Now, they need to be adjacent to each other if they're going to work together as a team. You need to be in reach, even the location of your chair to your table, to how far you've got to reach, how much space do you need behind, makes it more efficient. If they're more efficient, they're more productive. If they're more productive, it's more profitable for you.
Right.
And again, brand image is very much about it must meet what customers' perception of you are. So, and it can work in reverse. If you have for instance, say a budget shop and your interior says marble and gilded gold, etc., you're telling them the wrong message. They're going to say that client's not going to want to come in because I cannot afford that.
True.
But at the same time, the reverse is, for instance, I'm working on an international airline head office at the moment, and when they moved into the office, it's a high-end airline, and the office did not reflect that. The office actually reflected the budget airline.
Oh, okay.
Because it was a new office that they'd come into. for circumstances, had to move in before it got refurbished. And the message wasn't coming across to the clients. We were actually giving a contradiction to the clients about who we are and where we stand.
Okay.
So it's a very important part.
It is. And do you find, I mean, I remember when I was working in an office at the very beginning, it was very closed in. So you always had like big barriers but I noticed that a lot of offices now are all very open. Is that the way of the future, do you think? Is that where a lot of offices are heading?
With the fact that so many people can work offline, a lot of spaces are, you have a desk, you actually don't even own a spot.
Like a hot seat. My friend works in the big organisation in the city, and they've now turned to hot seats.
Yes. And then a lot of them have the rooms that you can book for if you want one-on-one meetings. Look, there's advantages and disadvantages. I'm a very loud person, so working near me in an office would be a disadvantage. But other people love it, the interaction you have. So if you're having a problem, it could be, I can't solve that problem. So you call over to the next person and go, well, what do you think? So if you've got that barrier there, that inhibits it.
True.
But you'll still find your CEOs, your general managers tend to still have an office, and I think there's a place for that as well.
Yeah.
But the open plan certainly saves on space, helps you to reduce even rent because you don't have to have as much space to become, and you don't have to worry about walls, doors, etc.
Okay. Now, I mean, we obviously know that you're the second in command of this beautiful designer chicks that Lucia has created. But what did you like about the idea of joining it?
Probably because being a sole trader, and I do work out of a home office, I don't need to have office space because I go to the client's space, is that the interaction, I truly believe no design's ever original, because you take one comment from one person and you create another design. Now, if that comment hadn't been made or that picture hadn't been shown to you, you may not have got that inspiration. So it's joining together of ideas, throwing concepts. And as Lucia mentioned, the client I had last year had this furniture that was very dear to them, but because of different cultural backgrounds, it was very difficult. But between the whole group of us, we came up with a solution that she was more than happy with. Now, they weren't involved with speaking to the client, but I presented it to her and she was happy and did everything that I suggested. So it's the think tank, the sharing of resources. So I go, I need such, and someone will go, yeah, try this place, or this place. And we've also been able to negotiate really good deals with different places, with tile wholesalers, custom-made furniture, artworks, etc. So they're really, all our suppliers are coming on board, and in fact they're chasing us, wanting to come on board and offering us some very good deals that we can then pass on to the clients that's there. So, but to me, it's that think tank, that communication, the idea, the sharing of ideas, and then it gets out there. And I think when you share the ideas and not be so precious about my own property, your own intellectual property, you then take that stigma away that an interior designer is a luxury. I always say, no, not a luxury, we're a necessity, because we can save you money. For instance, we've got a client at the moment, we've custom made a leather lounge. They've even chosen the seating, the foam to go in there, and I have got that $1,000 cheaper for them than they could buy it off the floor of a common normal furniture shop.
Okay, well that's great.
And people go, interior designer, custom made, scary, money. No, in fact, they've saved themselves money. And they got something that, sorry.
No, but I do think you're right. I mean, I think interior designers, it's kind of like, that just like you said is money, and it's money that we can't afford, and so therefore we'll just do it ourselves. Or, we'll ask for some advice, but we won't use them to do anything else. We'll just ask for advice, so we'll get the quote in, and that's it. No, I don't have to do that. My husband's an interior designer. So
you mean you're not going to use designer chicks?
No, I didn't say that. But, so I think there is an element of people saying, we can't afford it. And it's like a lot of things in business, though. A lot of people will say, oh, it's just too scary, we can't do that. One of the things that I was going to ask you is workplace health and safety would play a very big part. Is that something that as an interior designer that you have to take on board, or is that more of an architecture? Or?
No. For instance, this airline that I've been doing, everything, we had to have certification for everything. So we had to certification that the fire exit signs were in the right place, that the air conditioning was right, that the electrical was right. Even had to get fire ratings on the carpet that went down, the fabric went down. Had to certify that the egress, the space to leave in case of a fire was wide enough, that the doors were wide enough. To that point. So all that. So part of my job in doing this makeover not only was designing it, putting it out for tender, getting the builders in and coordinating it all, but was also ensuring that everything met the compliancing issues.
Okay, so it is a big important part, which most small business owners would not know.
No,
you wouldn't have a clue.
No, I've done one a couple of years ago, an office a couple of years ago, where back then what they call the egress for fire exit was only 1 metre wide. It's now different. It's now up to 1,500. But they only had 900. They had no idea that they were contravening the building codes of Australia. And heaven forbid if there'd been an accident or a fire and someone was hurt, they would have been held liable. But they had no idea that they were in the wrong.
Yeah. So obviously that's something that is very important for everybody to know. And so Robyn, unfortunately we've run out of time, but thank you so much for coming in and letting us know a little bit more about Inspired Spaces and what an interior designer can actually help with, because I think there's a lot more than anybody actually realises. And I can't wait for both yourself and Lucia to provide us with a blog post as well on your particular element, and it will make you both blog.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
No, and I can't wait to find out more about Designer Chicks over the next couple of, about 3 or 4 weeks, I think.